Hello. Today we're going to be talking about data protection and privacy. I think data protection is related to privacy and also other things. I remember talking in Brussels that GDPR is the worst thing that could happen to European Union when it comes to advancement of artificial intelligence. As you all might be knowing, most of the companies, big corporate companies responsible for the development of AI, artificial intelligence, are based either in the US or in China. There is research happening in European Union, but they are not able to commercialize that AI research. And anyway, they rank number 3 or maybe below the ladder when it comes to artificial intelligence. Now getting back to the topic. So when I told people in my audience in Belgium that GDPR is a law that doesn't serve its purpose, it has been articulated to make sure that people maintain their privacy can be secured, and their data is protected. But the question is, do people really care if their data is protected and they have a private life? Law is there to serve a purpose. If that purpose is not getting served, what's the point in having that law in the first place? People like Edward Snowden, Jaron Lanier, the founding father of virtual reality, the social venture capitalist, I think from Canada or America, Chamath, who used to work with Facebook, they have time and again told us that the technology devices that we carry in our pockets are a means through which we are surveilled by authorities and other big companies. And it's not that it's something new. People know about this thing, and still they buy those devices, what we call smartphones. It's not only in relation to smartphones. It is almost everywhere. People know that their privacy is being intruded into, and still they are okay with that. How many of you have ever read the click-wrap agreement that you find on social media websites or other applications that you find on your smartphones? I really doubt if anybody has ever read it. Hypothetically, if we assume that you read that agreement and you choose not to accept it, will you be allowed to use that portal, web portal, and that application? No, you will not be allowed to use that. So we are in an economy in which those applications, those websites are scaling up, not only in terms of number, but also in terms of their social relevance. Almost every government, every institution, every organization has an account on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. If you do not have these portals, these applications on your phone, on your laptop, then you are not able to function socially. Slavoj Žižek made this point long ago. He said that if you do not accept the terms and conditions coming from these companies, then you are rendered socially useless. I might be paraphrasing, but that's what he intended to say. So people don't care about their privacy or data protection, not because they don't want to care about it, but because they have been left with no choice. Because if they exercise that choice of not being subjected to such kind of demeanor by companies, then they will be rendered redundant in the social functioning. And that's why, to be a part of the mainstream mechanism, digital economy, digital mechanism, they have to say yes to these things. Also, psychologically, people don't care if their data is taken inappropriately by those companies. And the reason for that is this, that people will start pondering over the issue only when that data and the use of it or the interpretation of it by those companies or by the government is held against that individual who allowed them to take it. And of course, you have to question the term allowed, because it's not called allowing, because they don't have any other choice. So people are being forced to give their data to the companies and thereafter to be used by those companies and by government itself. In addition to this, there is one more issue involved here, and that issue pertains to the use to which that collected data is put to by companies and governments. The names that I mentioned in the beginning of this video, Jaron Lanier, Edward Snowden, Chamath, I would like to add one more name to the list, Professor Yuval Harari. All of these people have been time and again saying that data is used to tweak human behavior. So it's not only the collection of data that is not supposed to go to these companies and governments, but also companies and governments, they use the data in order to change behavior of human beings. Now, many people will argue that people in general should not allow their behavior to be tweaked by the use of data by these companies and governments. It's not possible, because they have no idea that their behavior is tweaked by such activities. Remember the case of Cambridge Analytica, wherein it's alleged that the feed on Facebook was manipulated so that people could vote for a particular person in American democratic elections. So it seems that people are ignorant how technology, how data is changing them. Now, one more thing, and that thing is the most important in the whole video. I'm not saying that technology is bad. I'm not saying that data collection is bad. I'm just saying that data collection and use of the same via technology by some vested interest is bad. Those activities should not be allowed to happen. Data should be collected. I think more data should be collected without the use of laws such as GDPR. I think data should be collected freely. The data should not be held against those individuals, but it should be used to improve the technology. It should be used to improve artificial intelligence. Also, the data should be given to all those entities, companies, organizations, parties who are involved in development of artificial intelligence. It should not be property of only a few, because it would violate competition law. And more than that, it will be detrimental to the advancement of artificial intelligence. I also remember Jim Snabe, chairman at Siemens AG, commenting at Davos World Economic Forum a couple of years ago, I think, that people, especially consumers, have no idea what's going on and how the companies are irresponsibly treating their data and their privacy. I know that most of the scholars and public in general believe that people should be made aware about issues like data protection and privacy, but I firmly believe that it will not work. It has not been working. Whenever you talk to people on streets and ask them, does privacy matter to you? They will say yes, but you will find in their pockets those devices that explain to you to the contrary. So it's not the words that people talk about in conferences. It's not the word that people say to you when you ask them a very specific question. It's about the demeanor, the behavior, the actions taken by those people that will tell you if a law is working or not, if some principle is being applied in reality or not. And reality suggests that nothing matters when it comes to issues like privacy and data protection. People do not care about it. So that's why, instead of making people aware of these things deliberately, actively, I think you should just allow companies and governments to use the data, but not hold people accountable if something to the contrary shows up. Also, the data so generated should be used in a way that it works for the benefit of all the people, all mankind, without exception. So laws should be made in that regard and not otherwise. These formalities that you obtain consent of a user before you use the data that he's providing to you, it's a futile exercise. It's not relevant. It's just an eyewash and a gimmick that doesn't make any difference to the society. Law requires that any kind of consent has to be informed consent. It doesn't need to be only mechanical exercise or hyper technicality. But consumers today, or people, those who are using the technology today, they are far from being informed. And even if they are informed, they have no other way. So just make sure that the data is collected and used for the good of mankind. These are my last words for today. Thank you so much.